scientists have dismissed claims that some of the world's largest earthquakes are triggered by a full moon. This is when the gravitational pull from the moon and the sun on the Earth are at their greatest, and the theory goes that this could be triggering fault lines into slipping. But in a new study, seismologists looked at more than 200 earthquakes dating back to the 1600s and found that there is no significant pattern. Scroll down for video. The phases of the moon can impact the gravitational pull on Earth. During a new and a full moon, the attraction is greater, which has long been known to contribute to the timing of earthquakes. Leading seismologist Doctor Susan Hough, of the US Geological Survey, said that the patterns that some observers see as linking large earthquakes with specific parts of the lunar cycle are no different from the kinds of patterns you would get if the data are completely random. Dr. Hough looked at both the day of the year and the lunar phase for 204 large earthquakes, dating back to the 1600s. To avoid detecting clusters of earthquakes within the data that are related to other factors, she chose to look at larger earthquakes because they are less likely to be an aftershock of a bigger earthquake. Looking at only large earthquakes also allowed Dr. Hough to pare down the list to a manageable number that could be matched to lunar phase information found in online databases. Her analysis did turn up some clusters of earthquakes on certain days, but to test for any significance in the patterns she was observing, she randomizing the dates of the earthquakes to find out what kind of patterns would appear in the random data. She found the patterns in the random data were no different from the kinds of patterns showing up in the original dataset. She said this wasn't an unusual finding, noting, "When you have random data, you can get all sorts of apparent signals, just like when you flip a coin, you sometimes end up with 5 heads in a row." Dr. Hough said she did see some unusual signals in the original data, for instance, the highest number of earthquakes, 16, occurring on a single day came 7 days after the new moon. But she said the signal was not statistically significant, and the lunar tides would be at a minimum at this point, so it doesn't make any physical sense. Dr. Hough said that the moon and sun do cause solid Earth tidal stresses, ripples through the Earth itself, and not the waters hitting the coastline, and could be one of the stresses that contribute in a small way to earthquake nucleation. She said some researchers have shown that there is in some cases a weak effect, where there are more earthquakes when tidal stresses are high. But Dr. Hough said, if you read those papers, you'll see that the authors are very careful. They never claim that the data can be used for a prediction, because the modulation is always very small. She explained that the idea that the sun and moon's positions in the sky can modulate earthquake rates has a long history. She said, "I've read Charles Richter's files, the amateur predictors who wrote to him in droves, because he was the one person that people knew to write to. And if you read the letters, they're similar to what people are saying now, it's all the same ideas." Dr. Hough added, "Sooner or later there is going to be another big earthquake on a full moon, and the lore will pop back up." The hope is that this will give people a solid study to point to show that over time, there isn't a track record of big earthquakes happening on a full moon. The research was published in Seismological Research Letters.